Hello, and welcome to another playthrough from Kagekaze. Hopefully you've enjoyed my wizard playthrough, and are ready to move on to another character. Today we're going to pay homage to a friend of mine by doing a walkthrough with the Barbarian. Since it's an homage to my friend, I shall name him after one of my friend's characters. Alright, so I just want to go ahead and start this by saying, as I mentioned in my wizard playthrough, never really did a melee class in Diablo 2. I was never very good at them, never allocated my stats properly, and it always felt like whenever I got close to a group of monsters, they ended up killing me faster than I can kill them. But with some of the changes they've made to Diablo 3, I'm thinking I might actually enjoy a melee character this time around. So let's find out. We're going to go in. Again, I haven't tried him yet. Here we go.
Reeks of death.
So first of all, I'm going to start looking at my skills, and obviously we just start with 1 bash, 6 fury per attack, brutally strike an enemy. Brutally smash an enemy for 145 weapon damage, 20% chance to knock him back. Very nice. So one thing I like about the Barbarian that they've done, one of the new resource systems that they've added here to Diablo 3, and one that you may be familiar with if you've played World of Warcraft, especially a warrior. We now have a fury gauge that starts at 100. I do believe there aren't any items that will increase that, unlike the wizard's arcane power, but I could be wrong. There might be some. But the overall theme here is, instead of giving you a large pool of mana that you're just going to burn through, which was one of the things I always had a problem with early level barbarians in Diablo 2, is I always seemed to run out of mana. You really needed mana leech to be able to make it viable. Now, I've got abilities that are going to generate fury, and later I'm going to unlock abilities that will actually let me use that fury. Right now I just have a generator, but obviously it's a really nice attack because it does more weapon damage than my standard attack. So I'll come up here and just kind of swing, see, 3, the 3, and then with bash there's a 4, of course, obviously because of the weapon. I start with being a 2 to 3 damage. You're not going to see a huge increase right now. Now one thing I did do for this playthrough is I crafted a bunch of items for my Barbarian. But of course, many of the starting crafting gear can't be used until level 7 or 8, so won't be able to use it right away. But I do have some items I saved.
I seek the fallen star.
It fell on the old cathedral. There was only one survivor, Leah. You should speak with her.
Captain Rumford, more dead are coming.
We can't open the gates until we drive them back.
I had mentioned one of Starflare's playthroughs that I wasn't getting the Elite Kills achievement. Turns out I may have been wrong about it being on that one character. It seems like certain enemies are counting towards it that shouldn't be, and inflates the stat.
I've never seen anyone fight like that before. Guards, open the gates. You'll find Leah at the Slaughtered Calf Inn.
I'll go ahead and bring it up here. It's actually in the challenges for General. Elite Kills 35, you'll see it says I have it, but it might be because certain monsters counted towards it that weren't supposed to, and so I technically actually don't have it. So one thing here you might notice, gold is shared amongst your characters. If you've been following the beta, you know this already. And another thing is my artisan here is ready for me, already leveled. I did level him again since the last video I made. He is now level 3. And I'll be trying to level him up as I go along. As you see, I got quite a few items, even a few rare items that I can make now. And just to kind of show off a little, I got lucky with a proc with Disenchanting and found some Petrified Bark. It's obtained by, of course, Disenchanting Legendaries. I got lucky by Disenchanting a blue. And it looks like none of the items I have, except for this belt, even the low-level items, are available to me. Some will come at level 2, also grab that, level 2. These are level 3, 3, 2. Alright, so I've got a few items that I can upgrade to once I get the levels. Let's go ahead and put the belt on. Don't know if it'll affect my look. Nope, apparently not. It's all good.
Are you Leah? Rumford said you survived the fallen star.
I did, but it blasted my uncle Deckard Cain into the depths of the old cathedral. I tried to search for him, but the dead were already rising. I came back here to rally the militia, but...
Watch out! The wounded are turning!
see they start flying back with these massive blows.
This is killing business.
New skill slot. And Threatening Shout is a new ability. As well as Hammer of the Ancients. Alright, let's take a look. Threatening Shout costs 20 Fury. Intimidate enemies, causing them to deal less damage. And it looks like they do 50% less damage for 15 seconds. Very nice. One of the things I talked about before about being a passive thing, I mean, obviously you have to use it, so it is a fairly active skill, but it's just a reduction. Since things die so quickly, I'll probably want Hammer of the Ancients. Mystical Hammer to smash your enemies directly in front of you for 180% weapon damage. Has a 15% increased chance to crit, which is very nice, so that will obviously be what I use.
We've been under siege for 6 days now. Uncle Deckard is still missing. Captain Rumford and the others are losing hope. The dead will overwhelm us all, unless something is done.
I will send them back to their graves. I will save your town.
Thank you. You should speak with Captain Rumford at the gate. He can tell you what to do.
Alright, so as you can see, lore items such as the book I picked up in there can be, you have to basically be relearned by each character. I noticed that lore items I had picked up with Starflare did not show up anymore if I found that same lore item. So here we're going to upgrade some items. 63 armor, so massive upgrade. Enemies take damage and I get more experience, which is great. What I like about the Barbarian as a melee character, you can customize him however you want. You can do a one-handed weapon with a shield, make him kind of a tank, and he will have passive abilities and even some active abilities that will reinforce that to gain aggro from monsters so that your companions don't get hit. Either that or you could go with a massive two-handed weapon and do a lot of damage all at one time, or even dual-wield items and just blend through things like a blender. Let's just go through here, gloves with more experience, and pants with more experience. So hopefully we should have a fairly quick leveling experience here. Also, I'm anticipating making this kind of a shorter segment than I have before. When I did Starflare, I went through the game in a massive, I believe it was a 2.5 hour setting, and that's why the audio and all that got cut up across the multiple videos.
How can I help fight the risen dead?
I admire your courage, but Captain Dalton and the militia were slaughtered by those things. Only I survived.
Your warriors will be avenged.
Well, I have seen you fight. Strike at the wretched mothers and their queen. They're the ones vomiting out these horrors.
They're attacking the barricades!
Right. I'm gonna use Hammer of the Ancients on the Risen Mother here.
That's one of the wretched mothers. There are more of them in the ruins down the road.
And you can see she went flying. So far, all the strikes from the Barbarian actually really do have a feel of weight to them. Now, unless they changed it on me and didn't mention anything, one thing that I like about the Barbarian is that he is actually the same Barbarian that is returning from Diablo 2. The only returning character that I am aware of. Very nice looking hammer. Like I talked about in Starflare's videos, I'll be pretty much passing up on the gray items now since they only really give you 1 gold per piece. Granted, I have a lot of empty slots. I could probably use some of them. But since I'll be upgrading fairly quickly, I think I will end up just passing. Now, one reason I didn't actually craft a weapon for my Barbarian was I really wasn't sure what kind of Barbarian I wanted to make. I was kind of hoping to go through the levels and maybe find my weapons, and from there figure out what I wanted to do, especially based on the skills that I unlocked. Now, a lot of the other classes went through some radical changes from beta to beta. The Barbarian is one of the few that pretty much has stayed mostly the same. He's had some tweaks here and there with his damage overall. Maybe some order of some skills have been changed, but not as radical changes as I've seen with, say, Demon Hunters or the Monk. Alright, let's see what Battle Rage is. 20 Fury, unleash on a rage, increasing damage. So increases your damage by 20% and your critical chance by 4. So obviously another one of those kind of passive abilities. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to slot each of these so that I can just use them and see their animations, but I will be going back to Hammer of the Ancients, being my only real passive damaging or active damaging ability right now. Far more interesting to use an active ability at the start of the game, I think, than something like that that only kind of buffs or debuffs. Not to say those abilities are bad, it's just at the beginning of the game, with combat being so quick, the game being actually fairly easy at this stage, you usually just want something active just because it speeds it along. If you're going to cast debuffs, then you end up spending more time that way. So I've got my shout. This is going to reduce their damage.
Not enough fury.
As you can see, they get a nice little aura above their head, kind of like when the Necromancer would put curses out. Okay, actually I can put my items on here. I should do that now because I have some equipment, or experience gaining equipment here. And I have my rare belt, of course. Really, I'm trying to do something here. Thank you. Life regeneration, magic find, experience, and health and gold pickup increase. Not as much armor, obviously, as to the warrior belt of thorns being an actual barbarian only item, but the other stats will make up for it, and since I'm not taking a lot of damage right now, it's not a big deal. This axe can give me more damage. Actually, it looks like this dagger will give me more damage. What I can do, though, just to see it, 3.0, 4.5. There we go. Now I can dual wield.
I need fury.
Let me just put attack on real quick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Bash with this so you can kind of see it. You'll notice that even though Bash is still doing the same thing, he will use it a lot faster now. Still the same skill, but because he can do it with each weapon.
I returned to Honduras after 20 years. The burden of countless failures and tragedies heaped upon my shoulders. Am I being punished for helping that stranger hunt the Dark Wanderer? I always thought Deckard Cain half a madman. But perhaps he was right. Perhaps...
I had heard the rumors, but I thought them just fancies of bored women. Until I saw them dragging people through the streets today. Our own citizens. Has the world gone mad?
So with abilities like this, you kind of have to choose, you know, Bash obviously is still going to knock them back. Do you want to have be able to use Bash over and over again and possibly knock the enemy back to save yourself a little bit of damage? Or do you want to have a massive weapon that Bash is actually going to do a whole bunch of damage for? Alright, we're going to put Battle Rage on. And this is the one that increases damage and crit. We're just going to socket that. I'm going to put Bash on the first. There we go. Sorry about that.
Old Tristram, Diablo himself, walked this place.
Of course, this might actually be a more powerful combo than using Hammer of the Ancients right now, just because it's a flat damage increase. And Bash is pretty quick with two one-handed weapons, so all I have to do is just buff my damage and my crit chance, and just swipe very quickly through my enemies. You know, some people have been talking about the lack of diversity in this game compared to Diablo 2, but the truth of the matter is, in Diablo 2, you usually only picked very specific abilities. You would not usually use the very first tier of skills. You only put points into them to get to the later skills. Of course, they did introduce synergies in one of the patches years later, where earlier skills would increase the abilities of later skills. But still, the most prudent thing to do at the time was put most of your abilities into the primary ability you wanted, and then later start filling out the others. Kind of still making them useless. So now, almost every skill you get can be used at some point, even skills at the very beginning, like Bash. You can use that throughout the entire game if you want. Hammer of the Ancients, because they scale with weapon damage. And just in the Barbarian alone, and the skills I have here with Bash and Battle Rage and all that, I can see there being a lot of possibilities here.
Thank you for your help. But could you talk some sense into Leah? She won't give up on the idea of rescuing her uncle.
Nor should she. I will help her find him. I gain new strength.
Alright, level 4, and we have Cleave now. I'm going to go ahead and put the shield on, just because it grants additional experience. I like how the armor, you'll notice the icon will change based on the class. If you remember any of the items I had picked up as Starflare, you'll notice that the icons look quite different here as a Barbarian. That's an art choice they made. So the items you look at will actually represent how they look on you. Like here, he's going to get a necklace and some paint. It's not true armor, but it works. There, 5.6. Less damage, but grants an additional experience. You know, for now, just to speed up leveling, I'm going to put that on. Leave that here in case I want more damage. I don't need any of those. Okay. Even though I haven't done the quest for the artisan here, I can still utilize him, which is very nice. I imagine the decision for that was partially as well to allow you to use your artisans in higher difficulty levels, even though you haven't done the quest for them. In this case, I just get the benefit of using it across different characters. I'll get rid of that. Alright, now Cleave was slightly changed fairly recently. Swing your weapon in an arc and strike multiple enemies. It deals 115 weapon damage to all enemies caught in the swing. Now, it used to originally be where it did more damage to your primary target and then less damage to everything else around you. And some people noticed that if you held down shift
Still
and
recharging.
used your attack that way instead of having a primary target, cleave would only do its partial damage.
Come, let us search for your uncle.
We'll need to open the cathedral first. The guards locked it up before they were ambushed. Rumford told me they fought their way back to Adria's hut. The key must still be there.
So of course you had to actively pick a target if you wanted to use cleave and get the benefit of its damage.
Here, let me open the gate. Adria was my mother, but I don't know much about her. She died when I was very young. I was raised by Uncle Deckard.
What of your father?
I'm told he was a great warrior who was lost when Tristram fell to the demons.
So consequently they decided just to make it a nice AoE ability. And that be it. Now, I really like the weight of that. Every swing he does just feels like it has power. There's a slight shake to the screen. This combination is not too bad of a combination either. My Fury Generator will hit multiple enemies, and my Spender will hit a single target. So I've got an answer for each combat situation right now.
Look! A hidden cellar! Follow me!
Your mother had her secrets.
People said she was a witch, but I never believed it. Captain Dalton!
Or fury.
Here's the key, and my mother's journal. What I've seen of it is disturbing. I want to know more about her, but that can wait. We need to save Uncle Deckard first.
I will go. Stay here and learn what you can.
Thank you.
Aidan came to me last night. I suspected what was lurking within his troubled heart. I consoled him as best I could. Regardless, wherever he's headed, hell will surely follow in his wake. The shadows close in on Tristram once again. But like Aidan, I'll be gone before they fall.